It might be too early to say, but Syracuse lacrosse's hotbed claim is turning into a hot take. SU men's lax is 4-5 and just racked up plenty of frequent flyer miles after a 16-goal loss at Notre Dame to stay winless outside of New York State. So this week's remedy, turn the Big Apple orange. Find out if the Cuse could topple a pair of in-state opponents.
While the men continue to struggle, Syracuse women's lacrosse continues to be one of the best squads in the entire nation. But they welcomed in the best squad in the country, North Carolina. This was a thriller, but the Orange just didn't have enough juice in them. So can SU bounce back on the road against an Empire State rival?
Plus, let's head outside to the ball yard. And finally, for SU softball, home base in the 3-1-5 for CNY Weekend Series number 2 of 2022, with Notre Dame stepping up to the plate. Could the Orange stay undefeated at Skytop? That and more. It's on the bench. Let's go. Welcome into our CitrusTV studios for On the Bench with Nick Zelaya. I'm Cameron Ezeir. Nick, two things I'm feeling. The tie, and where can I get one?
You can get one in New Haven, Cam, but I actually got this to match my maroon suit that I've worn once so far, so I appreciate that you like the red with the black look right now.
I might have to go with the blue tie look. We'll catch that for later. For as successful a program that Syracuse women's lacrosse has been, injuries have followed closely behind. And this past week was no different. Junior attacker Emma Tyrell suffered a season-ending lower body injury in practice last Friday. Tyrell erupted on the scene last year, ranking 4th on the Orange in points with 58. And this season, she's one-upped herself, scoring 30 goals and dishing out 20 assists in just 12 games. Tyrell's injury is the 5th season-ending lower body ailment suffered by a Syracuse player in the last 2 seasons.
Syracuse assistant coach Dave Petramala is the newest addition to the list of Great to Waraton Legend Award winners. Petramala becomes the 10th recipient of the award since it was introduced in 2011. He is considered one of the greatest defensemen in lacrosse history and the only person to win a Division I championship as a player and a coach. Petramala played his 4 years at Johns Hopkins while also coaching the Blue Jays for 19 years beginning in 2001. Jim Brown and Brad Kotz are former Orange players to also receive the award.
Syracuse's basketball season might be 2 months removed, but the accolades keep rolling in for senior Buddy Boeheim, following a near 20-point-per-game season in which the Cuse native led the ACC in scoring. Boeheim was named a member of the All-ECAC first team, recognizing the best of the best in the collegiate game from mainly the Northeast states. Boeheim carries that honor into his presumptive preparation for the 2022 NBA Draft. And just as Boeheim and company finished a game under 500, SU men's lacrosse is in the same boat. But good news for the 4-5 Orange is that after a 16-goal loss to Notre Dame, Syracuse matches up with an unranked UAlbany team. And if the phrase "history repeats itself" is any barometer of what's to come, then the Cuse's 14-game win streak over unranked opponents is something to smile about. But this rivalry does have a first. The first time SU is playing the Great Danes in our state's capital. It was pouring rain 2.5 minutes in. The UAlbany Great Danes pouring in goals. A ripper from Graydon Hogg, UAlbany's leading scorer. That's his 13th of the season. Syracuse a minute later would respond. Jacob Buttermore low to low, first of his career. He finished with a hat trick, but the story, these two teams scoring in a multitude of ways. Jake Pacino 5 minutes in. That's a juice goal for the long pole, and UAlbany would take advantage off the assists, while Syracuse more the DIY technique. Syracuse assists on under 50% of its goals. Tucker Dordovic would score there, but UAlbany, it was their second quarter to take, and they took it over 4-1, outscoring the Orange. Thomas Decker the goal, Jake Pucci the nice little dipsy-do. We head to the third quarter. Halfway through the third, look at this move from Thomas Decker. He would have a hat trick going high above Bobby Gavin's stick. It's 11-6 UAlbany. So where's Syracuse's remedy? It's Tucker Dordovic, their leading scorer. Vipers it into cage. That would kickstart a 4-0 run to end the third. Mikey Berkman with 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. We transition to the fourth quarter. Syracuse down 11-10. Now it's 13-11. 4 minutes left. Hog the miss, but hey, got cleanup on aisle 2. He would score, and UAlbany would hand Syracuse its 6th regular season loss, the first time that's happened since the Big East days in 2012.
Back-to-back losses for Syracuse once again this season, and now the 4-6 Orange prepared for their toughest part of the schedule. 4 ranked opponents to close out the season, starting with the top team in the Ivy League, the Cornell Big Red, who's having its best season since 2014. The Big Red ranked 4 in the nation, and they just continue to climb in the rankings. The scoring party began, though, with Syracuse Jackson Birdswhistle doing the 1-2 step, puts SU up 2-0, and it was all orange in the first quarter. Late now in the period, 6-2 Syracuse make it 7-2. Jacob Buttermore, a 5-goal lead, is the largest over a top 5 team in 4 years. Second quarter now, Tucker Dordovic makes it 11-6. There was a little upset brewing in the Dome. That was the score at halftime, but here come Cornell, an Orange team that had really been up and down all season. Last thing they needed was a comeback, and here was Cornell. Billy Coyle, he scores. Later on, CJ Kurse, forget a bounce pass here. Talking about a bounce shot, deflecting off the turf into the net. That made it 12-11 Syracuse, and look at this ball movement from Cornell, ending up with Danny Cadigan on the man-up goal. It was all tied up at 14 apiece late in the fourth quarter. Now 1:45 on the clock. Tucker Dordovic, he scores the goal to put Syracuse up 15-14 once again. And hey, maybe the Orange can pull off the upset after this improbable comeback from Cornell. Think again. Here come the Big Red. 24 seconds left on the clock. Michael Long ties it up 15-15. The first overtime game for Cuse since March of 2019. And Cornell, they wrapped up things. Hugh Kelleher puts it in for the win. Cornell pulls off an incredible comeback to improve to 10-1. Braden Reed recaps the collapse. That was for Syracuse.
Yeah, Nick, Syracuse fresh off a heartbreaking loss to Cornell, dropping the Orange to 4-7 on the season. And who better to break it all down than one of our CitrusTV men's lacrosse beat reporters, Braden Reed. Braden, main takeaways from this defeat.
Look, Cam, a loss is a loss, and obviously you would like to have that W in the win column, especially with the NCAA tournament coming up. This team's going to need it, but look, there are still some positives. This is the number 4 team in the country, and this Syracuse team was beating them by 5 at halftime. Obviously, it collapsed down the stretch, but there still are a lot of positives to look for, especially going down the rest of that schedule with 3 top 15 teams still left to go. Well,
Braden, you can play devil or angel. I think everyone in the CNY community is playing devil. You're playing angel, so I'm going to focus on the positives as well. Jacob Fopp, top 15 in the nation in face-off win percentage. What's gone into his success?
Yeah, he's had a rebound year this year, and I think the biggest thing is T.D. Erlin, the face-off coach. We're seeing the success he's had in the pros, up over 60%, which is absurd. And Fopp's confidence is just through the roof. Working with Erlin, he's just taught him one face-off at a time, right? The ebbs and flows with face-offs, you can get on a roll or you can just completely fall off of it. So he's just taught him, take it one face-off at a time. This whole team is behind you. Don't be looking over your shoulder. And his confidence has skyrocketed and his play has increased as a result.
But Braden, Fopp and company, they've put themselves in a dire situation. They have to win out to make the NCAA tournament to even be eligible. You got North Carolina, Virginia, and Notre Dame on the docket. Is there any chance this team makes the big dance?
Look, I know we're being positive, and look, if close losses counted, maybe, but I don't think it happens. I think their best opportunity starts this weekend with North Carolina. That's probably their best chance to win these last 3, but you mentioned it. Top 15 teams left on the schedule. We saw what happened when they played Notre Dame a few weeks ago in South Bend. I doubt they win that one. Virginia's a fantastic team as well. They lost to earlier in the season. So 3 really tough games. I think if they get one of them, I'd be almost surprised in a sense, but that best opportunity is going to be North Carolina.
It's going to be a tough road for Syracuse. You can follow him on Twitter at BradenReed6 for continued coverage for the rest of the season. But Braden, you weren't the only special guest to join us in studio.
14 years as the North Carolina men's lacrosse coach. It's Joe Bresci, and he joins us on the bench ahead of Syracuse, North Carolina this Saturday. Coach, it's a pleasure to have you. There's plenty of history between you, Coach Gate, Coach Petromala. Is this some sort of reunion?
It is. You know, it's pretty cool. I was able to see Gary over the course of the convention in December and congratulate him for getting the job in the summer, texting with him and so forth. But I've always had great respect for him as a player and what he's done in the women's game.
Coach, if you like offense, well, this game will feature it on Saturday. On your side, Chris Gray leads your team in scoring, and on the Syracuse side, Tucker Dordovic leads the Orange in scoring. Do you see any similarities between the two?
Well, you know, Chris Gray is an extremely dynamic player with regards to being 5'7". He's got the ability to score goals, to assist on goals, to kind of create opportunities for not only himself but his teammates. He draws a lot of attention. Teams will press out, they're shut off, they'll double quickly, do a lot of different things. I think when you talk about Dordovic, it's the same, yet he's 6 feet plus, and he's probably 30 pounds bigger and thicker and stronger.
Thanks so much, Coach. Really appreciate the time. We're going to take a quick break here on the bench. For Syracuse men's lacrosse, wins or a diamond in the rough. On the other side, well, what if I told you that SU softball had a rough time on the diamond? And how would Syracuse women's lax fare? That and more on the other side. On the bench rolls on in a bit.
Here's to the straggly ones, the lopsided ones, the first ones, the I miss my beard ones. But hey, I look good with this ones. But no way he's grown that in a week ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. The, that one. The itchy ones. The never forgotten ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The started late ones. The absolutely filthy ones. The drawn-on ones, the finger ones, the pin ones, the I nearly didn't do it this year ones, and the yeah, why not ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Learn more at Movember.com.
Back in our CitrusTV studios for On the Bench, he's Nick Zelaya. I'm Cameron Ezeir, breaking down all the action from the Hill this past week. Nick, women's lacrosse, they're good.
They're pretty good, and it was a battle of top 5 teams in the Dome this past weekend. Doesn't get much better than that. Syracuse and North Carolina was the treat we got in the Dome this past weekend. The Tar Heels 12-0 on the season and have beaten the Orange in 8 of the last 9 seasons. A thrilling game was what we hoped for, and it was exactly what we got. To the Dome, here we go. 5 seniors recognized for senior night, looking to pick up the biggest win of all their college careers, and Syracuse was first to get on the board. Megan Tyrell, God, she could just do it herself, puts SU up 1-0, but here come the Tar Heels. Andy Aldave, the flip to her, and she finds a way to somehow score the goal, putting UNC up 3-2 for the first time in this one. But hey, here's Megan Tyrell again, tying it up at 4, a hat trick in the first 15 minutes for the senior, and it was 7-7 going into the break. Back and forth constantly, no separation from these teams. Jamie Ortega, she scores. She was giant in this one. Third quarter now, Emily Knowles off the rebound scores her first goal of the season. It's tied up at 8 apiece again, but here was the UNC run that separated these two teams. 4-0 in under a span of 4 minutes. UNC up 11-8. Here's Syracuse. Sam Swart, ISO play, needs no help, cuts the UNC lead to 1. Megan Tyrell, her 50th goal of the season, doing a little post move, her 4th goal of the game. But here was Syracuse again. Natalie Smith cutting the UNC lead, 13-12 now. It was just a ball game from start to finish, but this was the icing on the cake. Jamie Ortega, the finishing touches, her 6th goal of the game to put UNC up, and they would remain undefeated, win 14-12, and keep 13-0 on the season.
Nick, third loss for the Orange, and all to ranked opponents. So with 4 regular season games to go, the Cuse got a bit of a refresher tonight against unranked Cornell, a team the Orange have beaten each of the last 13 times dating back to 2006. But here's the kicker. All 5 Big Red wins over the Orange have come in Ithaca. We're in Ithaca, but not this time for Cornell. Syracuse stays unbeaten against teams outside the national polls this season and is averaging over 20 goals per contest against unranked teams. In this game alone, the Cuse ended the contest on a 17-3 run. Oh, and grad student Emily Harrischuk scored 7 goals and for the first time in her career notched double-digit points with 11. I mean, Nick, she's unstoppable.
Put some respect on her name, for crying out loud. Put some respect on Emily Harrischuk. She is ridiculous at the sport of lacrosse.
With a 19-12 record, you'd think Syracuse softball is riding high and well on its way to its first 30-win season in 4 years, which might be true with 17 games to go. But now take into account that the Orange are 3-8 in conference games, and all of a sudden, last weekend's 3-game series against Notre Dame becomes much more daunting. And daunting it was as Syracuse fell 5-2 on Friday. The Orange mustered just 5 hits and only 2 from the second inning onward. In that second game, Nick, Notre Dame scored 8 runs in the first 2 innings. That game all but over in the early going.
It was Fighting Irish from the first inning on Friday to the 5th inning on Saturday. They stopped the game after 5 innings. It was just all Fighting Irish domination. And take a look at the numbers. They hit 384 at the plate in those 2 games. Syracuse just 209 hits, 14-2 in the run category, and Syracuse 15 left on base. That's not going to win you many games.
It's not going to get the job done. On the other side of the break, Nick, we're heading to the plate. Nick and I have been sitting for long enough. We'll run the 2-minute drill on the other side, and spoiler alert, it's time to get our feet wet. And for Nick, get his legs moving. And Syracuse, they got a tennis match on tap. We'll be back in a bit.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Welcome back into the studio. As On the Bench rolls on with Nick Zelaya, I'm Cameron Ezeir. All that softball and the prospect of base running made me think of one thing, Nick. Are you fast?
You could say I was fast. I had a solid track career back in the days.
Hey, you know what I say? It's fine if you say that, but are you going to show it?
Why not? I'm all stretched. I'm going.
Oh my goodness,
I'm going
what's
for it.
happening?
The clock is ticking, so forget the warm-up. It's time to get sprinting. This may be the 2-minute drill, but one Syracuse athlete only needed 13.69 seconds to set a new PR in the 110-meter hurdles down in Miami. Jaheim Hales ran the 13th fastest time nationally and was the fastest collegiate runner in the field. But Hales wasn't the only one wearing orange and setting records. Isaiah Lewis and David Peters both set new PRs while also finishing in the top 10. On the women's side, Shalia Collier was the only orange to post a sub-14 second time in the 100-meter hurdles while also running the 400-meter hurdles in 1 minute and 0.84 seconds.
Nick, is this a triathlon? Because let's hit the water. Syracuse women's rowing, known as the Varsity 8, which sounds like a great TV series, put on a show last Saturday at the Saratoga Duels, which also sounds like a great TV show. The rowers' screen-worthy performance earned the Varsity 8 squad ACC Crew of the Week after riding the credits to a second-place result in the morning session, retaining the coveted Liz O'Leary Cup with a win over Radcliffe, and as a team, reclining with its feet up in 3 first-place finishes and slotting in at second in 4 other races. Now it's on to North Carolina as 14th ranked Syracuse seeks momentum and some butter on its popcorn in the postseason.
The men's rowing team traveled to a spot Cam is very familiar with, California, for the Pac-12 invite. There were big trees, but even bigger results for the Orange, beating number 8 Stanford in the Varsity 8 race by 8.2 seconds, and then Sunday cruising to a 16-second victory against Oregon State. The Orange led number 2 Washington for a long time, but the Huskies proved to be 1.2 seconds faster in the end. Plenty of excitement this early into the season, but rowing is only just starting, with the Ghost Trophy up for grabs this weekend against the Naval Academy and Cornell, and then the Packard Cup in late April against another Ivy League foe in Dartmouth.
Breath, grab your racket and a few tennis balls, because Syracuse tennis did just that last weekend in a home game. It's a team that sits one game under 500 at 8-9, and 7 of those wins have come at home. So could the Drumlins' mojo continue against a Northeast foe in Boston College? Let's find out what the fate would be of 2 top 75 squads in the country at Syracuse and Boston College. We kick things off in the doubles number 2 court. Sonia Trasheva and Shiori Ito. They started off hot, 7-2 to open up the season, but they've been 2-4 since they dropped their double set 6-4, and it wasn't much better for Victoria Kenepatskaya and Inez Fonte. They would suffer the same fortune, lose 6-4 as well. So Boston College, for the 5th straight duel, would take the doubles point. We had the singles play. Boston College up 1-0. Number 6 single Shiori Ito, was she dominant, 6-2, 6-0 to tie things up at 1 apiece. Her freshman counterpart, Miyuka Komodo, would bring it back even 2-2. Miyuka Komodo, how about a 7-5, 6-2 straight set win? And then it was over to Inez Fonte. And how about the sophomore from Portugal at the number 5 single spot, her first straight set win in over a month? She would propel Syracuse to a 3-2 advantage. They just need one more match in order to take this duel. They get it from Zeynep Erman at the number 4 single spot, her first ever spring singles win in 2022. Syracuse takes it over Boston College 4-3.
Super pumped to be joined by our CitrusTV tennis beat reporter, Philip Galati. Philip, thanks so much for joining us on the bench.
Excited to be here.
Well, Sonia Trasheva, the lone senior on this Syracuse team, her season is slowly coming to a close. She's the only member on this team with any NCAA tournament experience. What is going to be missed from Trasheva next year?
Well, in short, a lot. The senior, as you mentioned, the only player to go to the 2019 and 2021 NCAA tournament. She also won the ITA regionals on the doubles court as a freshman. 69 career wins for the senior, 42 of those coming in doubles play. She has one of the best open stance forehands on the team. Just generates so much power from the baseline. And for head coach Yunus Imam, he's going to need a solid replacement.
The Orange sitting at 9-9 now after the win against Boston College this past weekend. But defense, it's been a bit of a struggle this year. What has went wrong for SU?
Well, they've been overmatched. You mentioned their 9-9 record. They're 3-8 in conference play. No bueno. And part of that comes from they're spending a lot of time on the baseline. And not even on the baseline, but well behind it. The problem is, if you can't come to the net, you can't close down points. Shiori Ito is one of the best players on the team when it comes to cross-court volleys. But the problem is, almost everybody on this Orange squad is spending a lot of time playing defense on the baseline. They need to keep those shots concise.
2 more games to wrap up the season for Syracuse, at Miami and then at Florida State. What can we expect from SU to wrap up the year?
Well, they're probably not going to end on a high note. I'll be honest. Miami is a top 10 matchup. Florida State are pretty good too. But the real key for the Orange will be the ACC tournament. In the first round, they're probably going to play either BC or Clemson. These are both teams they've actually beaten this season. So while the regular season slate might not end on the best note, if they can keep their heads locked in for the ACC tournament, there might be some surprises in store down the road.
You can follow Mr. Galati at Philip Galati4 on Twitter for complete Syracuse tennis coverage the rest of the season. Thanks so much, Philip.
Always a pleasure.
And when we come back after the break, performers of the week, Cam and I will dive into 3 Syracuse athletes that made the most impact this past week. Don't miss it.
call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Wrapping up shop in our CitrusTV studios, it's On the Bench with Nick Zelaya. I'm Cameron Ezeir. You know what, Nick? I'm in the giving mood, so let's treat April like December and hand out gifts in the form of our Performer of the Week awards. Who takes home the first?
Well, we've got to start, of course, with the top player on the best team on campus. It's Megan Tyrell. It was just another day in the office for the senior against North Carolina, scoring 4 goals and assisting on 2, and then scoring a hat trick along with 3 assists against Cornell last night. She has now scored 4 goals in 9 of SU's 14 games this season and leads the team in points with 77. The second highest on the team, 63. So Tyrell has been in a tier of her own, and good luck to any team who wants to get in her way.
Oh, yeah, she's steaming. Can any team slow her down? I don't know. She served up goals and assists left and right all year long, which hasn't always been the case for our second performer. But this past weekend, serving, setting, succeeding is exactly what junior Zeynep Erman did for SU tennis against Boston College on Sunday. Erman won in straight sets 7-5, 7-5, marking her first career victory in the singles 4 spot, her first spring singles win since last April, and clinched the duel for the Orange from surgery in December to a season-changing win 4 months later to a Performer of the Week award today. Simply put, Erman epitomized excellence.
Erman was huge in that win, got Syracuse back to 500 at 9-9 on the season. Big win for the Orange, and Erman's made a name of herself at Syracuse, but someone who's new to the pack and has been smoother than a pack of Lando Lakes on the lax field is Jacob Buttermore. The senior made his first start, 2 starts of this past season, this past week, and did not disappoint, scoring 4 goals, including his first career hat trick against Albany. Buttermore had 2 points through 6 games this season before the Albany game, but with injuries plaguing this Orange squad, Buttermore stepped up in a huge way for Coach Gate.
How does that song go? Smooth like butter?
Smooth like butter.
Am I saying it right? Sort of?
Criminal undercover.
See, I'm going to spare everyone's ears because I can go on and on. But yeah, Jacob Buttermore, 3 goals in his first start of the season. This is a guy that tore his ACL a season ago and didn't really provide any production as of 2019. But this season, getting that start because Tyler Cordes went out with an illness, Lucas Quinn went out with an injury, and all of a sudden, Jacob Buttermore might be a mainstay on this team, which is shocking to say because when he came to Syracuse, I don't think you could have said that at the start of things. So I was singing before, but like I said, I think I'm going to spare everyone's ears instead. And on that note, we say good night for our executive producer, Jesse Cook, and all the helping hands behind the scenes. For Nick Zelaya, I'm Cameron Ezeir. Roll those images of the week.
It's delicious.